guys, you need to turn to page 88 and grab a pencil so we can go through the chapter and underline the vocabulary words as you come around. Sandra, could you turn around, please? Okay, who wants to begin reading?
Andrew, you can read it. All right.
Okay.
Do you want me to start at the first vocabulary?
Yes, please.
Form W4. When you report to work, you will be asked to fill out a Form W4, like the one in Figure 5.1. The information you put on this form determines the amount your employer will withhold from your paycheck for income taxes. The employer sends this money to the government as partial payment of your income taxes. This form includes a simple worksheet to help calculate your allowances. Allowances reduce the amount of tax withheld from your paycheck. The more allowances you claim, the less tax you will have withheld. However, claiming more allowances does not decrease the tax you will eventually owe. It only decreases the tax payment your employer makes for you from your paycheck during the year. If you have too little withheld, you will have a large tax bill to pay at the end of the year.
Okay, was there a vocabulary word in that passage?
Form W4 and allowances.
Just allowances.
Yeah, allowances, basically they're things that reduce the amount of taxes you have to pay.
Okay, so why don't you guys go ahead and underline that in your textbooks. Okay, Chris, do you want to pick up where he left off?
Sure. You qualify, you may claim exempt status. This status applies only to people who will not earn enough at the year to owe any federal income tax. Line 7 of the form, figure 5.1, page 98, shows the requirements to qualify. If you qualify, simply write the word exempt on Form W4 as Marissa Clark has done in the figure. Then no money will be withheld from your paycheck for federal income taxes. The maximum amount of earnings allowable to qualify changes annually.
Okay, let's go ahead and flip over to page 90 and locate line 7. Okay? Should be up here on the top of the diagram, the lines are numbered. And we have line 7 there, and it says, I claim exemption from holding for the 2004, and I certify that I meet both of the following conditions for exemption. So what's a condition?
Is it like with the different,
things the requirements you have to meet.
Right, the requirements you have to meet. So the first condition is, last year I had a right to a refund of all, notice it's bolded, federal income tax withheld because I had no, again, bolded, tax liability. So what do you think that means in plain English?
they were able to get like a full tax refund because they had no liabilities.
And what's a liability?
Basically things you owe.
Right, they did not owe anything, so they were able to get all of their refund. The second condition is, this year I expect a refund of all, bolded, federal income tax withheld because I expect to have no, bolded, tax liability. So, what does that mean in English?
Basically they expect a full refund because they don't owe anything.
Right. Okay, so as long as they meet one of those, they can write the word exempt in box 7 down below. Find that, Chris?
Yes.
All right, good deal. Okay, was there a vocabulary word in that section?
Yeah, exempt status.
Okay, and what is exempt status?
Status that applies to people who don't earn enough a year to owe any federal taxes.
Okay, so go ahead and underline that vocabulary word. All right, I'll take a turn. We're over on page 90. Under the diagram, Social Security forms. Because workers in the United States must pay a Social Security tax when wages earned, all must have a Social Security number. Your Social Security number is your permanent work identification number. Employers withhold Social Security taxes from your pay and contribute matching amounts. The amounts you earn and and the amounts contributed from the Social Security throughout your life will be credited to your Social Security account number. When you become eligible, usually at retirement age, benefits will be paid to you monthly based upon how much you have paid into your account. If you don't already have a Social Security number and card, or if you've misplaced your card, you may need to get a replacement. Fortunately, there is no charge for this. If you find the application instructions for completing it online, go to the Social Security Administration website. The following links to the Social Security card page, and you can complete and submit an application online, or download it, fill it out, and mail it into the Social Security Administration office. Every few years, you should check to see your earnings and if your earnings have been properly credited to your account. The Social Security Administration provides a form for you to complete for this purpose. To request a statement online, go to the Social Security Administration site, then follow the links to request your statement within 30 days. You should receive a report that shows your income according to the Social Security Administration's records. There is no charge for this service. If you find any errors, report them immediately. And the next page, there's a copy of the form. Request a Social Security statement. Now, they used to mail these to you, but now it's all available online. Back in the old days when you used to mail them.
So this is all free?
Yep, it's all free.
Nice.
That way you'll know where you're setting whenever you get to retirement age. Alright, Xander, you wanna pick up on page 92?
Work permit application?
Yes, sir.
Many states require minors, people under the age of legal adulthood, to obtain a work permit before they are allowed to work. You can obtain an application for a work permit from your state, Department of Labor, a school counseling center, or work experience coordinator. There is usually no charge. You will have to provide your Social Security number, proof of age, and have your parent or legal guardian sign. Apply early to allow several weeks for processing.
Okay, is there a vocabulary word in that section?
Minors,
Okay, what's a minor?
somebody,
Of legal adulthood.
Okay, go ahead and underline that.
does the state require a work permit application?
If you're under the age of 15. Chris, you wanna pick up the next section, please?
Each company for which you work during the year will give you a Form W-2, like the one shown in Figure 5.3. This form is a summary of the income you earned that year and all amounts the employer withheld for taxes. These amounts include federal, state, and local income taxes and Social Security taxes. Compare your W-2 to your paycheck stubs to be sure that you find reported amounts that are accurate. Your employer will also send you a copy of your Form W-2 to the government. The employer must provide you with a Form W-2 no later than January 31st. This is true even if you work only part of the year and you're not working as of December 31st. If you do not receive a Form W-2 from each employer you work for during the year, contact your employer at W-2. You must file your W-2 form accurately.
Okay. Is there a vocabulary word in this section?
Form W-2.
Well, I know it's folded, but it's not a vocabulary word. So there's not a vocabulary word in there, but this is all about a tax form. How do we use these tax forms?
Well, this form has all your income and all the amounts the employer withheld. So, and I guess you send that to the government.
Right, you have to include it with your taxes whenever you file it, and this gives you the information to file your taxes with. When do they have to be sent to you by, Chris?
No later than January 31st.
Exactly, that way you have time to complete your taxes. When's taxes due, anybody know? What tax day is?
Isn't it April?
April 15th, unless it's on a weekend.
Oh.
Yeah, last year it fell on a weekend. Okay, let's go ahead and skip the exercise on the next page for the time being. And I'll pick up at Social Security Act. The Social Security Act, passed in 1935, established a national Social Security insurance program that provides federal aid for elderly and disabled workers in 1965. The Medicare provision was added. This provides hospital and medical insurance for elderly retired workers, originally known as OASDHA. Social Security provides these benefits: old age retirement income, survivorship income, disability income, and health insurance. Benefits received depend upon the amount of contributions made. Self-employed workers pay their Social Security contributions when they pay their income tax. For employees in occupations covered by Social Security, contributions are mandatory. Social Security, FICA, FICA, tax, and Medicare, HI, for health insurance. Tax are deducted from your pay and sent to the U.S. Treasurer for proper crediting to your Social Security account. Okay. Any questions about the Social Security?
Do you know what it was originally called, the OASDHI?
Because it was the acronym for what it covered: old age, retirement income, survivorship. What's survivorship, by the way?
Surviving natural disaster.
Is it if like your spouse dies?
Right, it's if your spouse dies.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sandra, you wanna pick up unemployment?
The Social Security Act requires every state to have an unemployment insurance program. This insurance provides benefits to workers who lose their jobs through no fault of their own. After a waiting period, laid off or terminated workers may collect a portion of their regular pay for a certain length of time. Premiums for unemployment insurance are usually paid by employers. Each state has its own regulations for waiting periods, maximum benefits, and deadlines for filing claims. Usually, benefits are paid for a maximum of 26 weeks through the local state employment office. In most states, an unemployed worker must wait for at least 1 week before receiving benefits. To receive benefits, a worker must have been employed for a minimum period of time, 6 months to 1 year, depending on the state, and for a minimum amount of earnings, 400 or more per month in most states. Workers fired for a good reason, such as poor performance, are usually not entitled to receive benefits.
Okay. So how long must you have worked for an employer to receive unemployment compensation?
It says 6 months to a year, which depends on your state.
Okay. And what's the minimum amount of money you could have earned?
400.
In those states.
Okay. Alright, Chris, you wanna pick up fair labor standards?
Popularly known as the Wage and Hour Act, the Fair Labor Standards Act establishes a minimum wage. It also requires hourly workers to be paid overtime wages of 1.5 times their hourly rate for hours worked beyond 40 per week. The minimum wage is the legally established lower limit on wages employers must pay. TIFs are not considered wages, so they are not included in calculating the minimum wage. In 2004, the federal minimum wage was $5.15 an hour. Some states require employers to pay higher minimum wages than the federal government requires. To compare the minimum wages of different states, visit the U.S. Department of Labor site at www.dole.gov and follow the links to the minimum wage information. You can find more information about your state's labor laws at your state's Department of Labor website.
Okay, is there a vocabulary word in that passage?
Minimum wage.
Minimum wage, what is minimum wage?
The lowest amount of money your employer will have to pay you per hour.
And I know this said, $5.15 an hour, but it's dated, so what is the minimum wage in West Virginia right now?
Is it 7 or 8 an hour?
Okay. What do you think, Chris? What's minimum wage?
I have no idea.
$8.75.
That's a bit higher than I thought.
$8.25, excuse me. $8.25 in West Virginia, but most places pay at least $9 an hour now. I'll pick up workers' compensation. Workers' compensation is an insurance program that pays benefits to workers and their families for injury, illness, and death, and occurs as a result of the job. The employer is responsible for employee injuries and illnesses that are the result of employment, even though the employer may have done nothing to cause the injury or illness. Today, all 50 states have workers' compensation. Employers pay the insurance premiums in most states. However, in some states, employees are required to pay all or part of the premium. Benefits include payments to doctors and hospitals, to the employee for temporary or permanent disability, and to the survivors in the event of death. Okay, is there a vocabulary word in this section? Yeah, workers' compensation. What is workers' compensation?
Insurance program that pays benefits to workers and their families for injury, illness, or death.
So go ahead and underline that one. Now, who pays for this insurance?
Usually the employer.
Usually the employer. Okay. Tell us about the Family Medical Leave Act, Xander.
The Family and Medical Leave Act, FMLA, of 1993 allows employees to take up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave in a 12-month period for certain medical and family situations. Some employers may choose to pay employees during some types of leave, such as sick leave, but they are not required by law to do so. Valid circumstances for unpaid leave under the FMLA are 1. Birth and care of a newborn child, including adoption of a child. 2. Care of an immediate family member, spouse, child, or parent, with a serious health condition. Or 3. Medical leave when the employee is unable to work because of a serious health condition. To find out more about FMLA, go to the Employment Standards Administration website at www.gov.gov/ECA/welcome.html. Follow the links to FMLA.
Okay. So how long can you take off under this law?
Up to 12 weeks.
In what period of time?
For 12 months.
Okay. So you've got 12 weeks every year, right? And let's say my Aunt Sally has breast cancer. Would that qualify for FMLA?
If she actually, I don't think it would. She's not an immediate family member.
Exactly. Now, what if my mother had colon cancer?
Then yes, you qualify.
Exactly. All right. Tell us about laws against discrimination, Chris.
A number of laws protect workers from unfair treatment in the workplace. Here is a brief description of the most important of the laws. Equal Pay Act prohibits unequal pay for men and women doing substantially similar work. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination on hiring, training, or promotion on the basis of race, color, gender, region, or national origin. Age Discrimination and Employment Act prohibits discrimination in employment decisions against people age 40 and over, and Americans with Disability Act prohibits discrimination on the basis of physical or mental disabilities. These laws are enforced by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC. Discrimination complaints are filed with the EEOC.
Okay. Out of those laws, which one do you think is the most violated?
It depends on who you ask.
Maybe the American,
But I'm asking you.
maybe the American Disabilities Act.
Okay. Why do you think so?
I feel like a lot of employers, despite that act, still discriminate against you if you have a disability.
Okay. What about you, Chris?
I agree with Xander.
You do? Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about employee responsibilities. So what is your responsibility to your employer? So employer responsibilities. To be a successful new employee, you will have to meet a number of responsibilities. These include personal responsibilities to your employer, other employees, and customers. So what is your responsibilities to employers?
Your employer hires you and pays you a stated.
Excuse the interruption, please. Could the following students go to the Wellness Center at this time? David Broyles, Isaac Broyles, Evan Gooch, Amber Goodman, Evan Mustaine, Dakota Matney, Chris Mines, Connor Scott, Brooke French, and Wyatt Zwart. Would those students please go to the Wellness Center? Thank you.
responsibilities for employers.
Okay, your employer hires you and pays you at stated intervals. In return for this pay and other benefits, the employer expects certain things from you, as discussed on the follow-up pages.
Okay, the first thing is competent work. Alright, Chris, what's competent work?
You should do your best to produce the highest quality finished product for your employer. This work needs to be marketable, that is of such quality that your employer can sell it or use it to favorably represent the company. If, for example, you type an email message to a client that has so many mistakes that it would make the company look incompetent or uncaring to the client, your message is not a marketable product. Also, when using an employer's property, you should be as thrifty as possible. You should conserve supplies and care for your equipment with as much diligence as you would your own.
Okay, punctuality. Arrive at work on time. Take no more than the allotted time for breaks and do not leave before quitting time. Being punctual means being ready to work at the appointed time. For example, rather than arriving at 8 a.m., the starting time, you should be at your workstation by 8 a.m. Okay, what's the next thing, Xander?
Pleasant attitude. On my job, it is important to be pleasant and easy to get along with. You should be willing to follow orders and accept feedback. Your employer also has the right to expect you to be courteous to customers because you represent the company to others.
Okay, who is good at accepting feedback?
I'd say I'm alright at accepting feedback.
It's kind of difficult sometimes, especially whenever it's not positive feedback, right? Okay, what's the next thing, Chris?
Loyalty and respect. While working for a company, you should never spread rumors or gossip about your employer or job. As long as you are on the company team, you are expected to be loyal. Loyalty includes showing respect to the employer and the company on and off the job.
Okay, dependability. When you say you will do something, follow through. The employer should be able to depend on you to do what you were hired to do. A person who is dependable has a good reputation and is considered for increased responsibilities and promotions. So the rewards of being responsible are?
Usually increase responsibilities and promotions.
Which means more what?
Money.
More money, honey. Okay.
Next thing is initiative. You should not have to be told everything to do. Employees who stand idle after completing a task are of little value to employers. You should show initiative. This means that you should recognize what needs to be done and do it without always having to be told.
Okay, what's next?
Interest. It is important for you to show an interest in your job and your company. You should project an attitude of wanting to learn all you can and giving all your tasks your best effort. Being enthusiastic about your job shows an employer your sincere interest in being a cooperative and productive worker.
Okay, self-evaluation. The ability to take criticism and to assess your own progress is important to you and your employer. You cannot improve your weak points unless you are willing to admit they exist and work on them. Employers must evaluate employees' work to determine raises and promotions. Employees should be able to recognize their own strong points and limitations and do realistic self-evaluations on their job performance. Okay, so are you guys able to self-evaluate? Do you know when you're doing a good job and when you're not?
Usually I'm doing a pretty decent job.
Okay. All right, responsibilities to other employees.
In addition to your responsibilities to your employer, you also have duties to your coworkers. These include the following obligations. Teamwork. You're part of a team when you work with others in a company, and you need to do your share of the work. Employees must work cooperatively in order to produce a high-quality final product. When friction and personality conflicts occur, the productivity of the whole company decreases.
Okay. What else?
Thoughtfulness. Be considerate of coworkers and promote a good work atmosphere with including customers. Having a pleasant attitude will result in a more enjoyable time for yourself and others. Personal problems, conflicts, and place of work.
Okay, loyalty. In addition to being loyal to your employer, you should be loyal to your coworkers. That includes not spreading rumors about them or gossiping leads to the breakdown of teamwork. Any of you guys habitual gossipers?
No, I try not to do that.
Okay, responsibility to the customers. What's your first responsibility then?
Helpfulness, which is your responsibility to help customers find what they want or to do what is needed to make a sale. When customers contact you with a problem, you are responsible for solving the problem or finding another employee who can. An attitude of helpfulness reflects well in the company, and it is important part of any job.
Okay, what else, Chris?
Courtesy and respect. Whether or not you like the customer actually pays your wages by keeping your employer in business. Without customers, the business cannot exist, and therefore your attitude towards customers shows respect and fairness. And it will help you run friendly, helpful employees with customer loyalty to the business.
Okay, have you ever met somebody you found it hard to be courteous to?
All the time.
And whenever you have a job, it's your responsibility to be courteous despite their attitude. And so how do you deal with that?
Just like that,
Yeah, you just kinda gotta deal with the rude customers, even if you don't like them. They're just supposed to be
Okay, employer responsibilities. Adequate supervision. Employees need proper supervision to do a good job. Good supervision includes providing appropriate instruction and a safe use of equipment, training new employees to do their job tasks, helping employees solve problems on the job, and distributing information downward from management and upward to management. What other responsibilities do they have?
fair human resource policies. Policies on hiring, firing, raises, advancement, and dispute resolution need to be fair and well defined. Employees should know clearly what is considered acceptable and unacceptable performance, what the standards are for advancements and raises, and what constitutes grounds for suspension or discharge.
What's next?
Safe working conditions. All employees must be provided with safe equipment, safe working environment, and adequate training for working under dangerous conditions. Special protective equipment and clothing and warnings. Okay, that's a lot of hands. Warning signs must be provided to employees and working in hazardous situations. Laws governing working conditions for minors are stricter than those adults in most industries.
Why do you think that the laws are stricter for minors than
Because kids are stupid.
Yeah, I guess if a kid gets injured, you have more liability.
Exactly, if a kid's injured, they have more liability. Okay, open channels of communication. Employers need to communicate with employees so that all employees have the opportunity to express concerns, ask questions, and make suggestions. Lack of open channels of communication can result in poor worker morale and low output. Employees need to know they are an important part of the company and their opinions are valuable.
Recognition of achievement. Employers need to provide some sort of reward for above average performance. Merit, pay raises, bonuses, and advancement opportunities encourage workers to do their best work. Employees also respond well to non-monetary rewards, such as providing extra time off or simply complimenting exceptional work in front of other employees. Recognizing achievement will motivate workers.
Okay, what's the last one there, Chris?
Compliance with employment laws. Employers must obey state and federal laws designed to protect workers from discrimination and employment on the basis of race, color, sex, national origin, religion, age, or disability. The employer is responsible for observing workers' rights. Failure to do so can result in severe penalties.
Okay, so what do you think the penalties might be if they violate these rights?
More being an employer.
And get room for your position, maybe jail time or fine, depending on what all you do.
More likely fine than jail time. Okay, guys, we're gonna do an activity with the vocabulary words. Go ahead and give you guys this. So what you're gonna do do is in the center, you're going to place the vocabulary word. Like, what is our first vocabulary word in this chapter?
First one I underlined was allowances.
Okay, so you're going to put allowances in the middle, and then we're gonna have to put the definition, some characteristics of that, some examples, and some non-examples. So, go ahead and write allowances in the middle section right there. Okay, what's the definition of allowances?
Reduce the amount of tax withheld from your paycheck.
Okay, so go ahead and write that under the definition box. Okay, what would the, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine. No, actually, what's okay.
I'll Okay. What's some characteristics of this word?
Not entirely sure on that.
Well, what does it do?
Reduces the amount of tax withheld from your paycheck.
So I'm thinking reduces liability would be a characteristic. Do you agree or disagree?
Excuse me, would the following students please report to the Wellness Center? Dakota Matney, Chris Mines, Tyler French, Jacob Kraft, Kelly Belcher, Stephen Belcher, Taylor Kraft, Jacob Hunter Crawford, and Jacob Prophet. Would you report to the Wellness Center, please?
Okay, how about some examples? What would be an example of an allowance?
Maybe if, you don't make enough to pay the taxes.
Okay, that's more exempt status, but I'm thinking about what reduces the amount of taxes you owe.
How much things you own.
No,
Yeah, I'm not sure. What does it supposed to examples?
have you ever heard of, dependents? Have you heard of dependents?
Yeah.
What's a dependent?
Is it, like when you have to, I don't know, somebody to, or when you, like when you have children? Like,
Exactly, children. So an example of an allowance would be a minor dependent. Okay? How about a non-example? Can you think of one?
So this would be anything that's the opposite of an example?
Exactly.
I don't know, maybe independence if you don't have anybody living with you.
Okay, independence, that's a good non-example. What about you, Chris? Do you have a non-example?
Let me write this one down. Not really, that was one other thing.
You know what always pops to mind for me? Pets. Because you still have to take care of them, it still costs you money, but you have no tax relief for them. Okay, you guys can work together to fill out the rest of the vocabulary words on this graphic organizer.
Would exempt status be the next one, Dave, under that? That's the next one. Definition of
So what's an non-example of exempt status?
I put like, if you spend all your money, you don't pay less pay taxes, you would be exempt from them.
Right.
It only applies if you, don't make enough to pay the federal tax.
So who are some people who don't make enough?
Maybe people who get paid basically minimum wage,
So
don't work enough hours.
maybe some part-time employees for low wages. Yeah. Good job, fellas. Okay, guys, now that we went over our bell ringer, let's go ahead and move on to today's lesson. We're gonna talk about case law, so if you'll open up your books to page 94, talk about these employment laws. You need the personal finance book. Personal finance book.
I just moved here. I don't have one yet.
There you go. Thank you, Tanner.
Was 94 the page?
Page 94. Okay. That's really the beginning of the Employment Act. So we're gonna read through some case studies. And then we've got a few questions to answer on the case studies. And we're gonna use our books to support our answers today. Okay. Bill, why don't you move in a little closer? That way we can all work together. Come on over, Chris. Okay. So who wants to start with situation A?
I'll do it.
Okay.
You're sitting at your desk quietly winding up your work for the day. It's Friday afternoon, your thoughts turn to your plans for the weekend. Suddenly you're startled by sudden commotion you hear in the hall. You recognize the voices of your co-workers John and Sarah. Sarah is yelling at John to stop bothering her. She is sick and tired of sexual harassment. John is yelling back at her, telling her that she's crazy and that he can't stand to be with her, much less sexually harass her. The screaming continues and you step out into the hall to try to intervene. About that time, John storms off saying to Sarah, I hope you have a horrible weekend. I'll make sure that you do.
Sarah is shaking and runs out the door. You start thinking about what you should do. All you really want to do is go home and forget this event. You'll cool down by Monday. Something bothers you though. You know that John is an avid gun collector and user, and there have been rumors that he has hit his line. Suddenly you were worried about Sarah.
Okay, so that's the end of the first scenario, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just place ourselves in these folks' shoes for a minute. How would you feel
Concerned
if you
for
were the
Sarah.
person in this?
Definitely.
Feel bad enough to go knock him out and put him in the hospital.
No, I don't think that's the right move.
Yeah, well, it may not be the right move, but I'm very easily angered.
Yeah, I would probably try to ask Sarah to go somewhere that's not her house.
Oh, smart. And ask her to stay with a friend over
Or
there.
contact the authorities.
Okay. Okay, good opportunity. So, what's the first question there?
Do you think you should get involved in this situation? Yes, yes I do.
Yes. Even though you don't have to, nobody has to know you're involved except for Sarah. At the same time. Xander.
What's your opinion?
Yeah, we should probably get involved. This doesn't seem like a good situation.
Okay, so what's your consensus as a group?
Yeah.
Pass. Go ahead and record your answer. Okay, I guess I can read the next question. What are you going to do now?
Well, as I said before, I'm the kind of person who would confront him directly and possibly put him in the hospital.
I'd say probably contacting the police or something. Be the best idea.
You can go walk after Sarah to her car, wherever it's at. and then suggest to her to go somewhere else, stay with a friend.
Okay. So what is your cohesive plan as a group?
I'd go without attacking John, because that's illegal.
Do not attack John.
I gave the illegal answer.
Okay, so I'd say maybe what me and Will said.
Contact the authorities and then.
Well, you can tell her to go stay with a friend. You can tell the police, hey, you should be on watch.
Okay.
This guy's not that.
I think that's a cohesive answer.
What do you know, Brandon?
Oh, yeah. Alright, I'm good.
Okay, what's the next question?
Is John a violent person? It seems that he's very possibly a violent person. It's not confirmed, but it's a maybe leading in the yes direction.
What makes you say that?
Rumors that he hit his wife, he was throwing off and threatening her.
So that's your support from the text, right?
And the threatening is the main thing, is everything else is just like a rumor at that point.
Okay. So what's your cohesive answer?
So yeah, he's probably
Most
violent.
likely.
And the text that supports that?
Well, he threatened Sarah, saying, I hope you have a horrible weekend, and that would make sure she has a horrible weekend.
Okay, I think that's pretty accurate.
What employment law is involved in this case?
I don't know if the rest of your team's ready to move on.
Are you done, Chris?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what employment law. Maybe establish safe working conditions.
Let's see. I think it might be in the first page over here.
On page 93, it starts off on employment laws.
Okay.
94 is probably where it'll be at, I think. Or 95.
Why don't you look over in the responsibilities section?
Yeah.
Number 5, establish safe work conditions.
Yes, I think that's very much the truth. How would the company be on the hook for safe working conditions in this scenario?
Well, if somebody gets threatened on your job site and you don't do anything about it, then that's not really safe working conditions.
Okay. So go ahead and record your answer and then use the text to back up that.
Do you want us to use the situation A text to me, or text in the book?
Text from the book and the situational text. Good question. did you find the new text to support it?
Found that too.
Good.
Alright. Is everybody finished?
Okay, since we did the first case together, I'm gonna let you guys do the second one on your own.
So everything's good with us too?
Yeah, you can read, and I'll step back.
Oh, you guys want me to read the first?
Yeah, we can just paragraph by paragraph.
I was gonna get the first, like, this.
Oh, sure.
Marshawn Demure has worked for Trinity for 6 years. He started as a management intern, working summers while attending college. After graduation, he was hired as a customer service supervisor, overseeing 3 technicians in one of the large customer service centers in Detroit, Michigan. Demure was encouraged by a manager at the Michigan Center to apply for a promotion and transfer to the newly opened Midwest facility. Demure, who is an African American, had questions about the demographics of the location and the facility, but decided to apply for an operations manager position at the Kansas facility. The operations manager position reported to the facility director, Clive Jenkins. Demure was selected for an interview with Jenkins. During the interview, Jenkins discussed company philosophy and his vision that the facility would operate as one big happy family. Employees would be evaluated on strengths and productivity, and the benefits of diversity in all areas would be maximized. Jenkins assured Demure that if he was hired, the management team would help him with his position.
The day after the interview, Jenkins invited Demure to attend his church to meet new people and get acquainted with others in the city. He was told that several facility employees were church members. Jenkins invited Demure to his home for a casual dinner after church services. Most of the dinner guests were church members, with a few other community people in the mix. It was a pleasant affair where Demure exchanged contact information with several people and received pledges from others to look out for him if he relocated. Demure thought the new job would be a good career change, especially with such a supportive group of people. He was offered the position, accepted the job, and moved to Kansas. Demure started his new position with enthusiasm. He interacted well with his coworkers and subordinates and demonstrated high technical competence in his work. Jenkins often complimented Demure on his ideas and work ethic. His first annual performance appraisal was superior in all areas. Demure liked his new job and saw great potential for advancement in the company.
Before he had accepted his new job and moved to Kansas, Demure decided to become a member of the Church of International Spirituality. The existence of a small African American congregation of internationalists in Kenworth, Kansas, influenced by Demure's decision to take the promotion and relocate. Although the internationalist congregation in Kenworth was comprised of only 80 people, Marshawn Demure, aka Mallard, employee filling the blank, Clive Jenkins, Midwest Facilities Director, and Marshawn Supervisor, Ford Midwest Facility Human Resources Director, EEO, and Diversity Compliance Officer, Judith Dixon, Corporate Base President for the EEO and Diversity, 2019 Society for Human Resource Management. Gwendolyn M. Combs, PhD 3. They had regular worship services and offered spiritual education classes. Internationalists were regarded as a new age religious group. They required other members to commit strict restrictions on diet, appearance, methods of worship, and other areas of conduct. Demure was quite committed to internationalist beliefs. He was
final step to become an internationalist was a 5-day intensive spiritual preparation and confirmation process. Participation in this religious practice required Demir to be away from work for a week. He approached Jenkins about this need and requested a week of vacation to attend the final process, which was membership. Jenkins inquired about the reason for the time off. He asked many questions about the internationalist religion and admitted that he was not familiar with the religious group. He raised several questions about the authenticity of the religion. During the conversation, Jenkins told Demir, "You know, I'm a religious person, but what you describe sounds quite strange. I need some information on the so-called religion before I can make a decision to give you a week off. We're quite busy, you know. I have been wondering about what I have seen you reading, and frankly, some of your workers have asked me about the pamphlets you leave in your office." Although Demir was disturbed by the conversation, he complied with the request for information. Jenkins reluctantly granted the time off.
A few days before Demir was to leave for his vacation, several employees approached him and asked him about his so-called religion. They told Demir that the members of his new congregation were considered strange by those in the city. Many called them voodooists and partakers of witchcraft and sorcery. Demir countered these remarks by providing more correct information about the internationalist religion. He wondered about the source of his co-workers' perceptions. Despite this, Demir left to attend this week-long confirmation ceremony, excited about meeting other internationalists. Internationalists were required to change their names after confirmation to reflect their changed position based on spiritual doctrine. Demir was given the spiritual name of Malik and was required to use it at all times. When Malik returned to work, he stopped by the HR department to complete paperwork and to formally change his name. He spoke with the HR director, Marta Ford, about the questions his coworkers asked him about his religious beliefs. Ford assured him that his name change would be recognized and reflected in company records, and told him not to worry about his coworkers. Malik proceeded with his normal duties and began to sign correspondence with the name Malik.
When he entered his department the next day, he noticed strange looks from his coworkers. As he greeted them, they simply nodded their heads, laughed, and immediately walked away. When he entered his office, Malik found it decorated with dolls and sticking out of various body parts, witch hats, and containers of medicines. On the wall behind his desk was a picture of Africa decorated with strange lettering and symbols. Malik was astonished and immediately called Jenkins for 2009 Society for Human Resource Management. When M. Combs, PhD, asked that he come to his office. When Jenkins saw the office, he laughed and said, "Well, Demir, shall I say Malik, I must say you have some admirers. As an American with African roots, you should have expected some lighthearted ribbing about things. About your conversion to that strange religion of yours. Even you must admit that they do some weird things." Malik replied, "No, I must say that I did not expect this." Jenkins recognized that. Malik was angry and upset over the incident and promised to handle the situation.
Over the next several months, Malik received a series of notes left on his desk and car referencing black cats, black magic, requests for palm reading, and notices of the disappearance of Arsham Demir. Not wanting to cause any problems or be labeled as a troublemaker, Malik ignored these incidents, thinking that people would tire of the pranks and things would die down. However, on one occasion, he found on his desk several sheets of what appeared to be chants at the top of read prayers for the black folk. Next to the pages was a book titled Mystical Practices from the Negro Experience. Malik immediately took the materials to the HR department and met with Ford. Ford told Malik, "I have been out of the office a lot helping with the staffing of the new Northwestern facility and had no idea you were having these kind of problems. Do you have any idea who is responsible for these actions?" "No, I don't, sir."
This is not the type of behavior that is condoned at training. Don't worry, I'll handle this immediately. I'm so sorry about all of this, said Ford. After Malik left her office, Ford called a meeting of all department heads and informed them of the situation. Ford immediately sent an email to all facility employees, reminding them of treatments policies regarding discrimination and harassment and the penalties associated with such actions. By the end of the day, all department heads met with their employees with specific warnings and orders for the behaviors to cease and desist. The days following were a bit tense in the office, but calm. Malik was relieved to not find any board notes or messages. Ford visited Malik on several occasions to ensure that he was not continuing to experience Malik was happy to report that, in his opinion, all was well. On Ford's last visit, Malik took the opportunity to ask about 2 new system manager openings. Promotion to a system manager opening would assist Malik's career goals for advancement and training. Ford sent Malik the position description and encouraged him to apply. After reviewing the systems manager job requirements, Malik believes that he had more than a good chance at promotion. He spoke at Jenkins about the job duties and requirements and expressed his interest in the position. Malik was informed that at that time, only one of the vacancies would be filled. The second vacancy would be filled within the next 6 months. These positions also reported to Jenkins. Malik applied for the position and was interviewed by Jenkins. The job was given to an outside candidate, Charles Bartlett. Malik later discovered the Bartlett 2009 Society for Human Resource Management, Gwendolyn M. Combs, PhD 5, was a member of Jenkins' church. Given Malik's perception of his qualifications and excellent performance record, he wondered if there were factors other than qualification that influenced the decision not to promote him. He also recalled Jenkins' conduct at the company holiday party when he joked about Malik's conversion to the international faith. Malik filed a formal complaint with Ford, alleging religious discrimination and racial harassment. As required by the treaty policy, Ford reported the particulars of this complaint to Judith Dixon, Vice President for the EEO and Diversity at the corporate office. The next afternoon, Dixon was at the Chenworth facility meeting with Ford and Jenkins. And that's the end of it. Okay. So, you read question 1, Chris?
Yeah. Identify and describe the specific issues Malik encountered in work. The actions of other workers at the company represent discrimination and harassment. What elements of the law are important for Trek to consider?
Alright. Should we?
The actions of definitely discrimination and harassment.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, today we're going to learn about some tax forms. Don't get too excited, Chris.
Well, I'm real excited.
It's taxes! Who's not excited about
Yay.
refunds? Straight me out. Okay. First, let's go ahead and huddle up, guys. We'll talk about these forms. Okay, first one is a W-2 form. Now, remember from your text, what's a W-2 form for?
Is that the one with the all the money made that year from your employer?
Right. W-2 is what you get for your taxes. So this explains all the earnings you have made and all the taxes you have paid throughout the year, okay? So each one of these boxes has a specific set of information, okay? So what is the first box for? Let's see. Why don't you all weigh in and, okay? First box here is the company's information. Okay? With me? See it on yours? Okay. Second box down is your information. Your address, your phone, well, your phone number's not on there, but your address. Okay, and then it's it's the employee's information below. The employer's is here, the employee's is below. Okay, then over here on the other side, we have your employee identification number. That's given to you by your employer. Okay. On down, we have your social security number. And then we have social security tips.
What's that?
Okay. Social security tips is if you are someone like a waitress who receives tips as part of your income. Well, if you choose to pay into it, it does. You're supposed to legally, but do you think everybody does?
No.
No, probably not, sadly. Okay, the next one, what is allocated tips? Flip down on your sheet and tell me.
applicable to UPA employees.
Okay, because again, this is people who works for tips, not these folks. Okay? So on over, we get to the big information, we get the, how much you've paid out, or excuse me, how much you've made throughout the year, in box 1 there. Okay? That's the entire amount that you've earned during the time you worked there until the end of this tax year. Okay? 2 over there is the federal income tax withheld. Alright, so that's how much you've paid in federal taxes. Okay? 3 is social security wages. This is how much they're going to take, they're gonna base your social security. Okay? So this is what your social security tax is based on, this amount. Okay? 4 is how much you actually paid in social security, how much was withheld. Okay? 5 is your Medicare wages and tips. So, what's Medicare?
Health insurance.
For who?
For you.
Workers.
People.
For the elderly, for people who've retired. So you have to pay for that while you're still working. So you're gonna go ahead and put it in right here. Now, the other one is the Medicare taxes that they've withheld from your paycheck, okay? Box 10 has dependent care benefits. Anybody know what a dependent care benefit would be?
Use benefits with you.
No, not quite.
This is any amount reimbursed for dependent care expenses through a flexible spending account.
Like, who would be a dependent? Like a child, right? So what kind of care do you have to pay for children? No, not
Food,
like
shelter, power.
No, while you're working, who watches your children?
Oh, like a babysitter.
Right, so you can pay for daycare with pre-tax money before they tax your benefits, and that's would go in this box if you had any. This individual did not. And 11 would be non-qualifying plans. What's a non-qualifying plan? Look on your sheet.
Not applicable to UPA employees.
Okay. This is if you have to buy health insurance from outside of the company. Okay, and that doesn't qualify here. Okay, and then we go over to box 12A, and we've got some 12B and 12C and 12D. All of these are those health and those health savings accounts, the stuff that they take out of your paycheck before they tax you. Okay. Box 13 gives the status of the employee. This is a retired person, so they're under the retirement, and that is all they have on this W-2. Yeah, there's no other on number 14. Now we pop down to box 15, that's where we get the state information. That tells us which state they pay taxes to. So 15, we've got Virginia, then we've got the employer's number again, how much they earned in box 16. Box 17 is how much they paid in state taxes. And then if the local area takes any other taxes, that's in box 18. In this case, it did not. Okay? So questions about how to read a W-2?
What about 1920?
There's no local taxes. Like, you could say the county of Monroe took taxes for 17, or for 18, and then the town of Union took taxes for the 19, but ours doesn't do that. Okay, any other questions? All right, let's move on to W-4. Okay, W-4 is what you fill out whenever you go to work. Anybody here have a job?
No, and we don't
Not
have to pay
yet.
for either.
Okay, there's only one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
We don't have
so I could project it, but I thought it would be easier since there's only a few of us. Okay, so W-4 is what you fill out whenever you go to work. So, the first box is your first name, and your last name, your social security number, your address. Then you get over here to box 3, and this is your marital status for withholdings. Okay, now, most of you guys are singles, right? Nobody's married yet? So you're gonna mark single. Now, I'm married, but I still mark single. Any idea why?
Withheld.
Less than withheld, something like that.
Actually, it's the opposite, more's withheld. Why would I want them to take more out of my paycheck than less?
Better tax refund.
Right, because I don't wanna have to pay at the end of the year, I want them to save it for me, right? Okay, if I go on down, 4 asks me, box 4 says, if your last name is different, mark it here. Why would your last name be different? If you got married, if you changed it, was adopted, anything like that. Okay, box 5 wants to know the total number of allowances you're claiming. What's an allowance again?
No, it's,
The things you're,
things they take off of tax.
Right, so how many could you claim if you're a single person? You're a single person now.
Oh, one.
1, right, you can only claim as many as you have. Now, you can put a 0 in that box. Why would you wanna put a 0 in that box?
More tax refund.
Again, they take more out of each paycheck, but they save it for you at the end. Okay? We move on down to 6, any additional amount you want held out of your paycheck. Okay, so in addition to, having them take more by marking you're single if you're married, putting down 0 dependents if you're not, if you have 14 kids, you can actually say take out more, so I don't have to pay you at the end of the year. So you can say take out an extra $10 paycheck, take out an extra $20 paycheck, whatever you think. Okay? And as we go on down through here, last year I expected to get, drawback, wait,
Excuse the interruption, Isaiah Cody, we need you in the office.
and then you sign at the bottom, and then this is your employer's information. And that's how they know how much to take out of your paycheck every week. Okay, questions about a W-4? All right. It is easier to understand than the other one. Okay, so I'm gonna give you this packet. There is some sample W-2s in here, some sample W-4s, and you guys are gonna work on this together.
so we're
Okay.
all one big happy.
You're all one big happy thing.
We're all right here.
Can I borrow your pencil?
Absolutely.
I hear that, your taxes.
Not me. Alright, let's see. Put it right here.